Episode 1. The anime begins with the conversation between Gojo Satoru, a teacher at magical school, and high school student Itadori Yuji, the main character. Satoru tells Yuji that they will execute him because he has become a vessel for Sukuna Ryomen, the king of curses. To explain what is happening, we are taken back a few days. Itadori Yuji is a 15-year-old student gifted with outstanding physical strength and endurance. He also has a grandfather who is in hospital. Itadori is interested in mysticism and therefore visits the occult club. In this club, he meets Iguchi and Sasaki, his new friends. Due to Itadori's unusual physical abilities, school coach wants him to help to conjure nationals. But since Itadori likes to practice occultism, the coach secretly changed his application to join the sport club. Since now there are officially not enough people in the occult club, the student council president threatens to close the club. In order to settle it, coach and Yuji agree to a competition on the field. The previous night we are shown Megumi Fushiguro, a student from Jujutsu Tech. He visits Sugisawa High Ground with the intention of finding a cursed object, but he is unsuccessful in his attempt. The next day, while searching the area for the cursed object, he ends up seeing Yuji dominating in a shot-putting contest. After winning the contest, Yuji walks past Megumi, and the latter senses a strong cursed energy emanating from Itadori, which could be linked to the cursed object. However, prior to Megumi having a chance to approach him, Yuji quickly hurries to the hospital to visit his grandfather. Grandfather tries to reveal the truth about Yuji's parents, but Yuji declines to listen to him. He asks Yuji to use his abilities to help others unconditionally so that he can pass away, not alone like him, but in the company of people. Soon after that, Yuji's grandfather peacefully passes away. While Yuji is filling out paperwork, Megumi finds Yuji in the lobby and introduces himself. He requests that Yuji gives him the cursed object which was found by the occult team. Megumi explains that the sorcerers use cursed object with talisman seals to ward off curses that arise people from negative emotions. However, if you remove the seal from the cursed object, it will attract curses instead. Realizing this, Itadori says that the cursed object is currently in the hands of the other occult club, who are planning to remove the seal tonight at school. Since the cursed object has an old seal that has already weakened significantly, Sasuke and Iguchi removed it without any problems. Immediately, curses begin to spawn from different places. This relic is one of the 20 fingers of Sukuna, the four-armed king of curses. Realizing that the students are in great danger, Yuji and Megumi head to the school. Megumi asks Yuji to stay behind upon their arrival as Yuji feels a strange pressure. When Megumi finds the students, they were already being consumed by a powerful curse. Using his exceptional physical abilities, Yuji bursts through the 4th floor window and saves his friends from the curse, allowing Megumi's divine dogs destroyed. Later, when Yuji picks up Sasaki, a cursed finger falls out of her pocket. Megumi is about to retrieve it when a curse suddenly appears and attacks him from the floor above. The curse beats him up and throws him through the wall. Yuji intervenes just in time to save Megumi from being defeated by the curse. However, despite his exceptional physical abilities, he realizes that he cannot harm the curse without using cursed energy. Remembering the special great cursed object, Yuji decides to consume it and gain the necessary cursed energy to save everyone. Despite Megumi's misgivings, Yuji swallows the finger, inheriting the power of Ryomen Sukuna. Yuji easily defeats the curse. Episode 2. Shocked by what he saw, Megumi prepares to summon a Shikigami to exorcise the cursed Yuji Itadori. Despite Sukuna's attempt to take over, Yuji manages to suppress him and regain control over his body. Afterwards, Satoru Gojo appears. He is Megumi's teacher and also the strongest sorcerer of all time. Gojo arrived to retrieve the cursed object that Itadori had already eaten. Intrigued by Yuji's ability, Gojo is amazed that he could actually overcome a curse of such immense power. Gojo decides to test Yuji and asks him to switch places with Sukuna for 10 seconds and then return back when time is up. After complying with Gojo's request, Yuji switches places with Sukuna and immediately Sukuna begins to attack Gojo. Sukuna destroys half of the school but still unable to hurt Gojo. After 10 seconds, Yuji is able to regain control over his body. After Gojo knocks him out and tells Megumi that if Yuji resists Sukuna's control over his body, after waking up, it will prove prove that he has genuine potential as a vessel of the King of Curses. Megumi is aware that Yuji is supposed to be executed according to the rules of Jujutsu, but pleads with his teacher to spare Yuji's life. When Yuji wakes up, Gojo tells him who Ryomen Sukuna is. After Sukuna's death, the sorcerers divided him into parts but couldn't destroy them. Since Yuji consumed one of Sukuna's 20 fingers, he became his vessel. If the vessel dies, the curse of its part will also be destroyed. Therefore, the elders ordered Yuji's immediate execution, but Gojo suggested an alternative. Now Yuji has two options. Either he will be executed immediately, or he must eat all 20 fingers and only then be executed. Afterwards, Itadori visits Sasaki and Iguchi in the hospital. Then they travel to the morgue where Yuji collects his grandfather's ashes and asks Gojo if people would suffer less if Sukuna disappears. Gojo replies yes, after which Yuji agrees to eat all the fingers and swallows the second one. Itadori is able to defeat him without any difficulty. After meeting Megumi, they all head toward the Tokyo Metropolitan Jujutsu Technical School. Itadori arrives for an interview with Principal Masamichi Yaga, who is a master of doll techniques. Principal Yaga uses one of his cursed dolls to attack Yuji during the interview when he fails to give the acceptable answer to why he wants to enroll. Yaga emphasizes the importance of being highly motivated and a little crazy to be a sorcerer. Yuji is able to defend himself against the doll's attack and comes to a realization that he wants to enroll in Jujutsu Tech to save people and to live his own life, not just because of his grandfather's dying wish. Principal Yaga accepts Yuji into the school and assigns him to Gojo's care. Gojo shows Yuji his room and tells him that each finger has a different aura, and since Yuji is a vessel, Sukuna himself will help him locate the fingers. Then he reveals they are going to pick up first-year student Nabara Kugisaki the following day. Episode 3. Next, after they met Kugisaki, Gojo decides to set up a small test for the newcomers, Kugisaki and Itadori, to check their current level of strength. They go to the building near the cemetery, where they need to defeat the curse. Gojo asks Itadori not to use Sukuna's power and gives him a cursed blade. Inside the building, Kugisaki and Itadori split up. Itadori quickly defeats the curse on the lower floors. Meanwhile, Kugisaki encounters a cursed mannequin. The curse takes the boy hostage, showcasing its intelligence. All seems hopeless when the curse threatens to end and the child despite Nabara's surrender. Out of nowhere, Yuji bursts into the building from the back and quickly severs the curse arm, freeing the child. Afterwards, Kugisaki exercises the curse with the resonance ability. The group then sent the rescued boy home. Gojo praises them all and Gojo takes them to a dinner. Episode 4. Kiyotaka Ijichi takes first-year students to detention center to investigate a cursed womb. They learn there is a possibility of special-grade cursed spirit being spawned, and if encountered, their only options are to run or die. Their mission is to confirm and rescue any survivors. Inside, they discover that they have entered a cursed innate domain. Megumi summons a divine dog for protection, and they eventually find the body of the detainees. Yuji and Megumi start arguing about saving people, but their argument is interrupted when Nabara is dragged through the floor by a curse. Megumi's divine dog is defeated and they find themselves facing a special grade cursed spirit. In an attempt to find it, Yuji uses his knife but ends up losing his hand and breaking the weapon. Nabara is trapped by mass curses and Megumi goes to rescue her. Yuji tries to ask for Sukuna's help but is refused. Then try to fight the curse, but they are no match for its power. Yuji realizes he is likely going to die, and this helps him to channel his negative emotions into his fist and charges forward with cursed energy. Although his attack fails, he buys time for Megumi's to rescue Nabara. The divine dog signals Yuji that it's safe to unleash Sukuna. Sukuna takes over Yuji's body and fights the special grade cursed spirit. Sukuna insults the curse and activates his domain expansion, easily slicing into pieces and taking back the finger that spawned the cursed womb. Sukuna is annoyed that he was used to defeat the special grade cursed spirit. He demands that Yuji regain control of his body. However, when there is no response from Yuji, Sukuna grins viciously. Episode 5. Sukuna appears and informs that Yuji won't be returning as he has ripped out Yuji's heart to prevent him from switching back and has eaten another one of his fingers to strengthen his control. Megumi plans to fight Sukuna and summon his Shikigami, Nue. Sukuna easily overpowers Megumi until he unleashes Orochi, lifting Sukuna into the air where Nue can strike repeatedly. However, Sukuna destroys Jujutsu and throws Megumi around. They start talking about why Megumi saved people. Yuji regains control of his body and hears Megumi confess that he never regretted saving him. However, Yuji is running out of time and his injuries take over, so he tells his friends to live a long life before he passes away. Gojo discusses with Ijichi in the school morgue, expressing his belief that the higher-ups set up Yuji on a dangerous mission while he was absent, and he gets angry, threatening to end all of them. Megumi and Nobara grieve over Yuji's death and are joined by the second-year Jujutsu students who invite them to participate in the Kyoto Sister School Goodwill event, an annual battle between schools where sorcerers compete against each other during the slow season to become stronger. And the first years agree to participate in honor of Yuji. In Tokyo, a group of enigmatic figures discuss testing Sukuna's power and enter a cafe where only one of them is visible to the public. Meanwhile, cursed spirits plan to overthrow humans and defeat Jujutsu sorcerers by turning Sukuna into their ally and incapacitating Satoru Gojo. Also, they assume Yuji is dead. The sorcerer is not entirely sure about it. Episode 6. Yuji's mind is still alive in Sukuna's domain. Sukuna wants to make a deal with Yuji to fix his heart. Sukuna will use Yuji's body for a minute after using a key phrase, and Yuji must forget the conversation. They decide to fight to the death. If Sukuna wins, Yuji accepts the offer. Yuji agrees and Sukuna defeats Yuji immediately. Just as Shoko prepares to dissect Yuji's body, he suddenly comes back to life. Gojo is thrilled and plans on training him privately for the Goodwill event while keeping his revival a secret to avoid further attempts on his life. At a dinner, Jogo and Gedo are discussing their plans to defeat Gojo. Gedo suggests using the cursed object Prisoned Realm, which Jogo becomes excited about. He then proceeds to heat up the dinner, causing everyone inside to catch on fire. Megumi and Nobara are undergoing close combat training, while Gojo is teaching Yuji how to control his cursed energy. Gojo uses scans to illustrate the difference between cursed energy and cursed technique, and encourages Yuji to focus on channeling cursed energy into his fists instead of learning a cursed technique. To help Yuji control his negative emotions, Gojo has him watch movies and pour cursed energy into a cursed corpse doll. If Yuji fails to maintain a steady flow of cursed energy, the doll will attack him. During a training session, Yuji gets distracted and the cursed corpse doll punches him. Gojo leaves to meet the Kyoto Jujutsu High Principal and asks Yuji if he spoke with Sukuna, but Yuji can't remember. On his way to Kyoto, Gojo senses something and exits the car. He then encounters Jogo, who has come crashing down near him. Episode 7. Jogo creates a volcano head that blasts Gojo with a magma explosion, but Gojo wipes away the ash and lava from his force field. Gojo is surprised to meet a curse that can communicate and believes Jogo is an unregistered special great curse. Curse attacks Gojo with amber insects which use sound to explode, but Gojo stops them and avoids its attacks. Gojo uses this opportunity to attack Jogo with Jujutsu and finishes him off with cursed technique reversal, after Gojo disappears to bring Yuji to the battlefield. Gojo teleports Yuji to Jogo's location to observe the battle. Curse activates his domain expansion, trapping the sorcerers inside the coffin of the Iron Mountain and buffing his abilities. Gojo reveals that casting their own domain is the best way to counter a domain expansion. Gojo traps him with his own domain expansion, Unlimited Void, which paralyzes him by overwhelming him with all the information in the universe. After decapitating Jogo, Gojo interrogates him to find out who sent him, while Gedo and Hanami watch from a distance. Gedo meets up with the cursed group's leader, Mahito, and they plan to carry out Gojo's sealing on October 31st in Shibuya. Episode 8. Megumi and Nobara are on a task assigned by Maki in Tokyo Jujutsu High when Aoi and Mai, who came with the principal from Kyoto, confront them. Mai mocks their deceased classmate and Aoi asks Megumi about his taste in women, and when Megumi gives a bland answer, Aoi attacks him for being boring. Aoi reveals his impressive skills as a sorcerer. Megumi summons winged toads to fight back, but ultimately requires assistance from Panda and Toge. Meanwhile, Nobara is shot by Mai but continues to fight. Maki joins the fray and the sisters discuss their motivations for becoming sorcerers after Maki and Aoi leave. Elsewhere, Gojo arrives for a meeting with Principal Gakuganji, believing him to be part of the Jujutsu conservatives responsible for Yuji's death. Gojo expresses his belief that the new generation will surpass the old traditions and fight to erase them. Gakuganji gets irritated and Gojo leaves. 1 month later, Yuji and another sorcerer are assigned to investigate mutated corpses found at the Kinema Cinema movie theater, where Mahito is spotted by a young man who can see curses. Episode 9. Junpei Yoshino is a high school student who is often bullied by his classmates. He often thinks about revenge against those who hate him. In a twist of fate, he crosses paths with his tormentors at a movie theater where they meet a gruesome and at the hands of a cursed spirit named Mahito. Intrigued by Mahito's extraordinary powers, Junpei confronts him in an alley, expressing his disbelief in Mahito's humanity. Yuji Itadori and the Great One sorcerer Kento Nanami take charge of investigating the cursed corpses. Nanami identifies the residual traces of a cursed technique. Yuji learns to see these residuals also. They follow the residuals to the rooftop. After they encounter 2 courses, prompting Nanami to suggest that they each handle one. Nanami engages in battle with his opponent while explaining the mechanics of his cursed technique. After Nanami effortlessly defeats his foe, Yuji demonstrates his trained skill by effectively channeling cursed energy into his fists. Impressed, Nanami acknowledges Gojo's confidence in Yuji. However, they discover that their opponents are not curses but mutated ex-humans. In his hideout, Mahito teaches Junpei about the manifestation of curses from human fears. Meanwhile, Nanami instructs Yuji to track down Junpei, the sole witness. Yuji and Ijichi find Junpei and follow him with a boxed curse. Episode 10. Junpei is a former member of a high school movie club who was beaten by bullies, and he's now speaking with Mahito about the meaning of life and how curses can change people's forms. Mahito believes that there is no value to life and encourages Junpei to embrace his hatred. Yuji and Ijichi spot Junpei and follow him, and Yuji receives an assignment to test his jujutsu talent using fly heads. Junpei encounters his teacher Satomura, and Yuji creates a distraction to allow them to talk privately. Meanwhile, Nanami confronts Mahito in a battle and breaks his arm. Mahito starts discussing the relationship between body and soul and tries to reshape Nanami's soul, but fails as Nanami instinctively protects it with his cursed energy. Nanami manages to escape down the sewer to buy time until he can go into overtime. As the clock approaches 6, Nanami's cursed energy suddenly begins to rise, surprising Mahito. Nanami uses ratio technique, collapse to shatter a wall with the powerful shockwave of his cursed energy, cutting off Mahito's leg and announcing his retreat. Yuji and Junpei continue their conversation while Geto watches them from above. Junpei's mother invites Yuji for dinner and they get along well until Yuji has to leave with Ijichi. Before leaving, Junpei asks Yuji what he would do if he had to end someone, and Yuji responds that he would try not to. Later that night, Junpei's mother finds one of Sukuna's fingers, which draws a curse and ends her life. Nanami advises Yuji not to end transfigured humans and asks him to keep an eye on Junpei, who is being manipulated by Mahito. Mahito and Geto watch as Junpei is consumed by anger and revenge. Junpei goes to school and uses his newly awakened powers to attack Shota, who he blames for putting the Sukuna finger in his home. Yuji arrives just in time to stop Junpei from ending Shota. Episode 12. Yuji struggles against Junpei's powerful jellyfish Shikigami as they clash. Despite Junpei's belief that people have no hearts and morality is a delusion, Yuji manages to grab him and tries to reason with him. Junpei lashes out with his Shikigami, but Yuji lets it harm him, breaking through Junpei's defenses. Yuji promises to help him and find his mother's killer, but their conversation is interrupted by Mahito's arrival. Yuji hesitates when faced with Mahito, allowing the curse to immobilize him. Mahito uses idol transfiguration to mutate Junpei into fighting Yuji. In his final moments, Junpei realizes his mistake and dies. Angered Yuji delivers a powerful punch to Mahito. Yuji's negative energy fills the air as he vows to end Mahito. They engage in a battle. Mahito attempts to touch Yuji's soul, but Sukuna intervenes and tells him to know his place. Yuji gains the upper hand and repeatedly smashes Mahito's face. Just as Yuji is about to finish the battle, Mahito surprises him from behind, but Nanami arrives in time to deflect the attack. Nanami expresses concern for Yuji's well-being and asks for an update.